There hasn't been a lot of progress on the Elan lately because the day job has been keeping me pretty busy, but the weekend beckons and there is a plan. It failed its MOT on three main points: headlamps, brakes and emissions. Now in terms of emissions, I've been slowly refilling petrol tank with 99 octane fuel using my little 5 litre container. So hopefully that'll dilute any nastiness that's still in there. I've adjusted the engine timing and I've been running the engine regularly up to temperature, getting it through heat cycles. Hopefully that's helping to retrain the car's ECU and get it used to being alive again. I'm going to add some fuel injection cleaner additive to the fuel, and then on MOT day I'm going to take it the long way around, give it a good chance to clear its lungs, and hopefully, because it's only over by a little bit, that'll be enough to get it through its emissions test. In terms of the headlamps, I'm going to bring the car to the local garage here to get its MOT, and I've asked them in advance if they can adjust the headlamps for me before it goes through its test. So that'll be one less thing to worry about, and also I want them pointing in the right direction. I don't want to be guessing it. Now I've rebuilt the pods and the headlamps, so they're all new, so they're pointing in all different directions. It needs the guys with the proper kit to set them up properly. So that'll be that. And then the last thing is the brakes. So as you know, the calipers are all stripped down, they're all painted, they're ready for the new parts. The new parts are supposed to be arriving today. I'm getting a little notification from the shipping company. So that's it. Once they come, the brake assembly should go together pretty quickly, and that then will be that. It'll be ready for its MOT, so potentially I could even book it in maybe next week. We'll see. We'll see how the weekend goes, but we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. I have bits. My stuff has arrived. Haven't taken it out of the box yet, so I don't know quite what's in here. Hopefully it's all going to be here. Given that it's going to be 1,000 degrees tomorrow, well, it's already 1,000 degrees, but it's going to be 1,001 with sun tomorrow. The plan is to get as much of this done as I can this evening, and then hopefully it'll just be a question of finishing it all off in the morning and getting it back on the road. Assuming I have all the bits I need, and assuming it all goes back together properly, then tomorrow I'm going to see if I can contact my local garage and book it in for an MOT next week, maybe. But hopefully now we're in the final stages of getting the Elan back on the road. It's by no means finished, but at least being able to take it out on the road and enjoy it is going to be a big boost. And I'm off the following week, so if I could get the car back on the road for my week off, that would be, it's also my birthday, and that would be the best birthday present in the world. So a little bit of an early gift here that I bought myself at great expense, but right, let's get it open and let's see what we have. Earlier on I had grand ambitions of finishing this car tonight and rebuilding the brakes entirely, but to be honest with you, I got a little bit tipsy instead, so I'll see you tomorrow. One of the main reasons that I throttled off what I was doing last night, apart from copious amounts of gin obviously, was that I'd actually forgotten to order some rather important components, namely the rear brake pads. Don't ask me how I managed to do it. I think I was so focused on all the little small bits and pieces that I forgot the big stuff, the stuff that actually stops the car. Anyway, that means the car won't be on the road this weekend, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's given me a little bit of breathing room to do some of those other small but really important jobs, such as investigating this oil leak in around the oil cooler. Now, I'd noticed a bit of oil residue around the cooler when I was working on the car previously, but obviously you don't know, where that came from, whether it's an oil leak that's been fixed, whether it's oil spillage, you just don't know. As I've been cycling the engine to clean it out the last couple of days, I have noticed quite a bit of oil dripping out of it, so did a bit of digging around, and it turns out it's a simple fix. A little banjo bolt that holds the oil hose onto the oil cooler is missing one of its little washer seals. Now I don't have any to hand, so I've had to order it in. I'm trying to get it off here. There it is. So that'll take a couple of days to get in, but it's a quick and easy fix, and it's another really important job that I'm really happy to have done. I wasn't completely idle yesterday though. I did build one of the calipers and install it, and there it is. And I have to say, the build went really well, the install went really well, and I'm really happy with the black. I think it looks really sharp. Not only does it suit the car, I also think that it makes the calipers look bigger than they are, which is, all in all, a bit of a win. So I've got the 3 other calipers to build. I'll reinstall the one on the passenger side, and yeah, once I get my last little bits and pieces, then I'll be able to hopefully book this thing in for its MOT and finally get it back on the road. Rebuilding the brake calipers is actually pretty simple, particularly when you've got nice new parts. So the first thing you got to do is put your slider boots on. They take a bit of work because obviously they're meant to seal the water and grime out of the sliders. So getting them on is a bit of a faff. I'll stick them in the vise to squeeze them on nice and evenly. Then you get your sliders, you put this little seal around the middle of the slider there, slather it in grease and then feed it in through. And if you've got your boot on right, then it should pop through into this little recess and create a nice tight seal, and that's the sliders done. And then in terms of the piston, there's a seal that goes into this little recess just inside there, and then the piston just drops straight into the bore. And then once you've that done, you put this little seal over it. Again, it's a bit of work to get that on because it's meant to be watertight, but as with the sliders, this little lip on the seal sits into the little lip on the piston, and that is pretty much that. All that's left then to do is to get the brake pads in using these locator pins and these little clips to hold them in place. And then once you install it on the car, you put these little caps on the back of the slider bores to seal them, and that is that. Rebuilding the rear caliper is a lot trickier than the front because of the handbrake mech. First thing you need to do is put in the two-way check valve, which is basically a rubber bung. The idea of this is that down the line, if you take that out and brake fluid comes out, it tells you that your piston is shot. And the other side of the piston has this tapered edge, and that's to help you get the piston locator over the end. It doesn't really want to go. It's meant to be very, very tight, so I need to use the vise and my little trim tool to help persuade the two of those together. And once they're done, I then have to get this piston seal into the inside of this caliper, and there it has a little recess that it lives in. All this of course needs to be lubricated with brake fluid as I go, and then when that's done, I can then put my actuator screw for the handbrake into the back of the piston. There's a little thrust washer and a seal that goes over that there. They need to go on. Then the spring goes in place, and then the whole lot gets pushed down into the caliper bore. And then to hold it all in place, I use this little circlip that lives inside a little recess there. And then when that's done, I can start thinking about putting the seal around the outside to keep it all nice and clean. At the back of the caliper, I'll then have the back of the actuator screw sticking out, and that's hexagon shaped to accommodate the handbrake lever. That needs a seal and a couple of anti-friction washers, and then a little nut to hold the whole lot in place. Bit of a faff to get it right though, because you don't want the handbrake turning half a turn and doing nothing, so getting it lined up with the hexagon shape is a bit tricky. Then you get your spring on there to ensure that the handbrake releases properly, and then the last jobs to do really are just the sliders. They need to be greased up and put in place with the boots, and the bleed nipple. That's about the last thing that needs to go in really. And once all that's done, all you need then is a set of pads, and you can reinstall it. Despite the heat and humidity, it's actually been quite a productive day. I've hidden out here in my shed for most of the day rebuilding the rear calipers. They're now done, and the seal around the slider is so good it's actually created a bit of a vacuum, so I might need to pop that out and let a bit of air in there, but they're looking fantastic, ready for their pads. Now in terms of the car, I've also done a bit of work there. Oh, and I've also discovered that the rear deck is an ideal spot for lining beers up, so must keep a note of that. I've replaced the fuel filter. For a tenner I thought it's worth putting a nice posh Bosch unit in there. Bit of a job to get it out though, because the old one, which I think is some spurious eBay item, had been in there for quite a while, so that was a bit of work, but it's done now and it's in. And the other thing I've done today is I have rebuilt and reinstalled the front passenger brake caliper no issues at all. It all popped together really neatly and in it went, so very happy with that. The only other jobs to do today are I need to get into the center console and just loosen up the handbrake cables ready for the new pads and the new calipers to go on the back. And then I still haven't replaced this disc and hub on the passenger side, so I need to do that too. That's such a quick and easy job. I might actually record it in real time because it's quite surprising how little is actually holding the whole wheel on. Tomorrow I'm going to get in under the dashboard here to find the potentiometer and then lean out the idle a little bit. I don't have any equipment to measure it, unfortunately, but I know which direction you turn it in to lean it out a little bit. And I think, to be honest with you, I'll be able to smell the difference, because when you turn it on now, it really is quite rich. And that's really it. The rest of it is kind of cosmetic stuff. I have some bits and bobs, including my indicator seals, so my indicator gaskets. So I have a few jobs to be doing to keep me busy during the week, but once the pads arrive, I can whack those in, get the calipers in nice and snappy, and then she's off for her MOT. I promise you, I haven't primed or prepared this. This is the rear hub and the rear disc assembly. I only have 2 minutes in a tweet before they cut my videos off, so hopefully this will give you an idea of how very little actually holds a car on the road. First off is the little cap. Ironic if this is what scuppers me. Alright, that's the cap. And all this in here then is a cotter pin. So I just need to open that out. Have a look what kind of condition it's in. Yeah, it's alright. It's not put in with any great level of expertise, but it's in there. Let's get that out. Time is ticking. I'm gonna run out of Twitter video space. Come on, cotter pin. Go, go, go. There, grab it with this. That's that. Now I think this is a 24, which it is. Pop that over like that. You don't tighten these very tight because actually you'll squeeze the bearings and stop the hub working. Nut that holds it all in, and then that's it. That's all that holds your wheel on. I've just finished leaning out the idle on the Elan, and you can already tell the difference. If I was stood here before, you could really smell the fuel, but now it seems like it's burning much cleaner. And even when you boot the throttle, whereas in the past it would, there'd be a lot of popping and hissing as the unburned fuel hit the exhaust. Now it's not doing it anymore. That's quite straightforward to do it actually. You just need to get the car up to temperature. Then you need to get down into the footwell, and I use this little thing. But basically you've got to put it in service mode by connecting those back two terminals there. Bosh bosh is the easiest way I have. And then the last thing, it's this little blue thing way up at the back here. The little potentiometer is right there, and you just need to access it. I'll just come at it from another angle with a really long screw. Can't really, I'm doing this remotely, but that's roughly the idea. And you just twist it, and in this case it just needed the tiniest little tickle, and that was it. That was all it needed to lean it out. In fact, there's more in it. I could lean it out more if I wanted to, but given that it was ever so slightly over when I tested it first time, given that I've checked the timing, given that I've got an engine cleaner in it, given that I've got high octane fuel and I've been running it regularly, plus all the filters are new. I think that should be it. Today is one of those days that is just there to test you. Adjusting the potentiometer, the thing that defines how much carbon monoxide comes out of the exhaust pipe when it's idling, the thing that will get it through its MOT, that took about 15 minutes. And that went so well, I thought, you know what? I'll change this little bit of weather stripping on the door because it's pretty bad, and I want to wash it so it looks nice. And this has taken about 5 hours so far, and just about every tool that I have, and I'm not even close to being finished. So yeah, today's been one of those days. It had better rain a lot this winter, that's all I can say. I've just fired up the Elan to run it through a temperature cycle again. This is the first time I've done this since I adjusted the potentiometer, and I'm very curious as to see how the car has responded. And the good news is it has responded really well. Whereas before it used to idle at exactly 1000 RPM, now it's dropping just below it. And if I look at the Elan Scan app, where before it used to be nails to 1000 RPM, it now fluctuates between 925 and 975, but it's generally in and around the 950 mark. So all that tells me that it's running really, really sweetly right now. I cannot wait to get this thing on the road. If I've been quiet about the Elan for the last few days, it's because, frankly, there hasn't been that much to do apart from wrestle with this piece of weather stripping, which I'll tell you about later. But now, the very last pieces that I need to rebuild the rear brake calipers, namely the rear brake pads, they've turned up. So hopefully this will be a quick and easy install, and then I can get these on the car, and then that will be the last big mechanical job I need to do before it goes for its MOT. That in there, finally, is that. That's the end of this phase of the renovation, I hope. So all four wheels have calipers, they all have pads, there's fluid going to all four wheels, they've all been bled, all of them work, although the pedal is still a bit spongy, but at least I know it's not the fluid. So tomorrow morning, part of the drive to the MOT centre will be to take it the long way around and try and bed some of that in a little bit. Same story with the handbrake, it works, but it feels like it needs a bit of bedding in, so I'll bring my tools with me and adjust those on the way as well. So the plan is to get it there by 8 AM. While it's there, they'll do the alignment and they'll adjust the headlamps for me, so I know that they'll be absolutely spot on. The alignment, they're not going to get it perfect because the suspension, this is quite tricky to get right, but hopefully they won't make it any worse. The steering wheel at the moment is off center as I drive along, so even if the steering wheel is pointing the car in the right direction, I'll take that as a bit of a win. And that's really it. The emissions are, I hope, done. Brakes are, I think, done. And the headlamps, they will definitely be done. So that'll be it. At 10 o'clock, it'll roll over the ramp for its test, and hopefully that'll be it. And this phase, as I say, of the renovation will be over, and then I can start getting on to the cosmetic side of things, which will be, tidying up the wheels and all the little dings and scrapes and dents that it has. But at least at that point, I'll be able to take it out and enjoy it. And that is, after all, the whole point of a car like this. So that's it. See you tomorrow.